Hello and welcome to This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we bring you highlights of a sod-turning ceremony held over the weekend by Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa at the Onvoat area there, MMA ADA. This sod-turning ceremony was for the start of a massive road rehabilitation program, 5 kilometers of road into the MMA backlands at a cost of $327 million. Mr. Rommel JAG Group has been awarded this contract and has pledged to stick to the specifications and to ensure that the work is done to what is set out in the contract for that project. As you will know, 5 kilometers is just but a part of the road leading into the MMA area, going all the way to the Conservancy. So this is basically the first part of that road. The aim is to have the road go all the way to the Conservancy. So that would allow farmers to bring out their paddy in quick time. Right now during the rainy seasons, farmers are faced with all kinds of difficulties, many of them having to resort to bring out their paddy by boat to the waterways there because the road becomes impassable during the rains. So the idea is, Minister Mustafa has been talking about this since taking up the reins as Minister of Agriculture, to have farm-to-market roads established across the country. MMA will figure greatly in the government's plan to double rice production in Guyana and basically double agricultural production. As you will hear in this program, Minister of Finance with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashney Singh, in his presentation alluded to Guyana becoming an agricultural powerhouse for the region, and so therefore his government is committed to putting in the work necessary, the investments necessary to ensure that this is realized in this first term. Over this next few months of this year, we will see lots and lots of money being spent on the improvement of drainage and irrigation infrastructure, not only in the MMA but in all of the agricultural areas across the country. In Lindan, you've heard about a conservancy being established there in West Watuka. In other areas of the country, in Abari, in the Maikoni Creek, in other areas along that coastal corridor, you will see work being put in infrastructure to facilitate the expansion of agriculture in Guyana. So on this program though, we focus on the presentations made during the official ceremony for the start of this new asphalted concrete road leading into the MMA backlands. So, This Week in Agriculture is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and Advertising based in East Berbice. We will be back. The Guyana Livestock Development Authority, GLDA, is reminding the general public that its range of services can be accessed from all 10 administrative regions of Guyana. These services include regulatory services such as the issuance of permits for the import-export of live animals, meat, veterinary drugs, hatching eggs, etc., and the granting of licenses for the trade in animals and animal products. These regulatory services also include quarantine for live animals, inspection at ports of entry, and livestock product facilities. In addition, GLDA provides services in the area of artificial insemination in cattle, small ruminants, and swine, livestock management, pasture development, beekeeping. The GLDA Veterinary Laboratory offers diagnostic services including testing for internal parasites, screening of blood and other tissues for the presence of diseases such as avian influenza, infectious bronchitis, Newcastle disease in poultry, and brucellosis, rabies, etc. in other animals. To access these services, contact the GLDA veterinarian or extension officers in your region or the head office on 220-6556 or 220-6557. A message from the GLDA Ministry of Agriculture. The Guyana Rice Development Board is reminding all farmers that an integrated pest management program is the best way to ensure a successful, high-yielding crop. Integrated Pest Management, or IPM, is the use of several compatible control strategies to suppress a pest. IPM is for the management of all insect pests and snails or even weeds, whether it's early season, mid-season, or late season. This program begins at land preparation and involves the following key steps. After proper tillage, leave land exposed to sun for a few days to allow for pests in the soil to be exposed to natural predators, as well as to allow for degradation of any debris there. Proper land leveling should also be ensured. Farmers should adopt uniform times of sowing. Sowing en bloc during the April, May, and November-December periods of the year. All farmers should treat their seed before sowing, providing insect pest protection to the young rice plants for up to 30 days. Ensure proper water management for the first 40 days of the crop. Ensure effective monitoring of the crop from the vegetative stage for the presence of paddy bugs or other pests. This will aid the farmer in determining the right time to apply the appropriate insecticide to kill the paddy bugs. A message from the Guyana Rice Development Board, Ministry of Agriculture. This is what a responsible, health-conscious person should be wearing when using agrochemicals on the farm. Wearing the proper protective equipment guards users of pesticides and other harmful chemicals from the cumulative effects of consistent exposure over a period of time. In the short term, exposure can result in skin or eye irritation, rashes, burns, respiratory problems, etc. Long-term results of exposure to harmful chemicals include certain types of cancers, birth defects, etc. Ensure you wear the proper protective equipment when applying pesticides. A message from the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Board, Ministry of Agriculture.
The management of the MMA ADA wishes to remind members of the public that dumping of garbage along the road shoulders of the main access road to the MMA lands is an illegal practice and will not be condoned. The MMA has noted with alarm that the practice of dumping garbage alongside the roads at night has been increasing in frequency. Not only does it make for an eyesore, the garbage has been getting into the drainage and irrigation channels, causing blockage to the free flow of water. The authority is warning that its rangers have been put on notice and will be on the lookout for persons engaging in this practice. Persons caught will be handed over to the police for charges to be filed. A message from the MMA ADA, Ministry of Agriculture.
Over the weekend, Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa and his Finance Ministry counterpart, Dr. Ashni Singh, ceremoniously turned the sod for the start of the first phase of a project that will see an asphalted, concrete surfaced road that will lead all the way to the MMA Conservancy over the next year or so. In this first phase, though, some 5 kilometers of asphalted concrete road will be constructed from what is known as IR3 and stretched to IR2. This is the main access road into the MMA lands. This is being undertaken by Rommel Jag Group General Contracting Services at a cost of $327 million. Work on the road is expected to commence almost immediately. Speaking at the ceremony that preceded the turning of the sod, Agriculture Minister Mustafa stressed his government's commitment to agriculture development in Guyana.
The plan of our government and ministry is to modernize and upgrade our infrastructure. And when I became the Minister of Agriculture, the first issue I was faced with were dilapidated structures, clogged canals, and impossible dams in the MMA scheme. And the farmers who represented those issues said that they will be unable to take out their crops. That was the last crop. If government did not start emergency works across the scheme. At that time, we did not have a budget in place. You know the state of affairs in August of last year. At my first cabinet meeting, I had to go for two things. One was to make representation for emergency funds to do work in the MMA scheme, and another was to ensure that I make representation for workers' wages and salary in Gaisupu. And the government saw the importance of these works, and immediately funds were released to commence emergency work across the scheme here. And if we want to develop our agriculture sector, we have to make investment, make funds available, because agriculture, for me as the Minister of Agriculture, is one of the most important sectors in our country. Agriculture, when we develop our agriculture sector, we will create jobs, we will create wealth, but more importantly, we will have food security in our country. That is why, as a government, we believe investment in infrastructures are required to make the agriculture sector viable and sustainable. Without key investment in infrastructure, service delivery may not be able to take place. If we want to improve production and productivity, then as facilitator, as a government, we have to put the necessary infrastructure in place to ensure that we complement the farmers so that they can produce, they can expand their output in the agriculture sector. And we have been focusing primarily in the Ministry of Agriculture, we have been focusing primarily to expand and strengthen our D&I system. That is why for this year, the new year, we will be seeing almost 6 new farm-to-market roads across our country. In Region 5 here alone, you will have 3 of those roads that I'm talking about. And when we build roads like these, when we put in investment into critical infrastructure like these, we help the farmers, first of all, to reduce their cost of production. Because when a farmer leaves home in the morning, when the dams are impossible, when the farmer have to leave 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the bank dam, when they leave the bank dam 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they reach home 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the night, we as a government, when we build these infrastructure, we will cut those times. The farmer will leave home 7 o'clock in the morning and reach home back by 6 o'clock in the evening. Imagine how much time a farmer will save when we create our build infrastructure like these.
Speaking directly to the construction of the first phase of the farm-to-market road into the backlands of the MMA, the Agriculture Minister called for the establishment of a monitoring committee in the scheme to ensure that government receives value for money spent on the project, one that would ensure that all the contract specifications are met so as to ensure that a solid and long-lasting road is built. The project will realize the opening up of some 30,000 acres of new lands in the scheme, which will contribute, in the first instance, to the forecasted doubling of rice production in Guyana. The Agriculture Minister also spoke of the other important spin-off benefits of proper farm-to-market roads, such as the one to be constructed in the MMA. He revealed that over the last 6 months, the works executed by government in the agriculture sector has realized a renewed interest by those who had abandoned their lands out of frustration.
Also, it will reduce the cost of production. Your wear and tear on your machinery will ease. You know, many times farmers' machinery are destroyed or broken down because of the state of these dams and roads that we have. Roads like these, now 5 kilometers, you will traverse on a smooth concrete asphaltic surface, and you will know now that your machine will not be broken up or broken down like before. It will reduce the cost of travel and time. And I want to say that projects like these are realization of the PPPC's manifesto. When we went to the election last year, at the campaign, we said we will build and modernize the infrastructure in our country. And we have been doing that over time. In many areas across the country, we have seen where the infrastructure, we have started to do work, critical works across the country to improve our infrastructure that we have inherited. Last year, we have had an emergency budget where $7.5 billion was allocated to the D&I sector. But before we started to expend money there, money were already used from the previous 6 months. And then we had only about 45% of that money. And I'm happy to say that a number of canals, a number of dams, and a number of critical infrastructures were repaired across our country. Right here in the MMA scheme, as I said, we expended $90 million, clear a number of canals, We also had $29 million that was given to us to do repairs to dams, and those infrastructures were done. And ladies and gentlemen, you rest assured, that was an emergency budget we had. And imagine how much we have done, because before August of last year, when people talk about development, they were referring to they were talking and saying we will have development when the oil and gas revenue come on stream. But the work that we have put in over the last 5 months, we have seen a renewed interest in agriculture, so much so that when you go across this country, people are now coming back and they are saying that they want to go back to do either cash crop farming, they want to do either rice planting, or they want to go in the livestock industry. Because the work we have done, we have created this renewed interest. People see agriculture as the #1 activity in our country, and that is the importance we have been placing on the agriculture sector in our country.
Minister Mustafa, in reminding farmers of the measures implemented by government, including the reversal of the harsh measures that had been imposed upon them by the previous government, explained what it means in terms of value to farmers.
So what we did since taking office, we have reversed the land rental and D&I charges. You all remember that the land rental and D&I charges was increased from about 600%, from $1,000 to $7,000 for land rent, and from $2,500 to $8,000. We have seen that the previous administration would have done that. We said we will reverse it. I am happy, ladies and gentlemen, that last October the 1st, we have and went to Parliament, we reversed all those harsh measures. All those harsh measures. And I just want to, for your benefit, I just want to give you how much money today are in the farmer's pocket. Because we didn't give any cash to the farmers, but what we have done, although we have reversed the land rental, although we have reversed the DNI charges, we did critical works that were necessary to enhance production and productivity in these schemes. And if you take this scheme alone, the MMA scheme, land rental reduced from $7,000 to $1,000. DNI charges reduced from $8,000 to $2,500. So when you look at the total reduction for 1 acre of land, a farmer now is saving 11,500 acres. $500, sorry. $11,500 a farmer is saving for each acre. In the MMA scheme, the cattle, the cash crop, and the rice farmers, we have 137,675 acres. When you multiply that by $11,500, you know how much money are remaining now in the farmer's pocket? $1,503,262,500. Those are disposable income that the farmers now are getting back in their pocket. Before they had to pay that in land rental and DNI charges. So we as a government, we see you, the stakeholder in the industry, we see you as the most important person, the most important component that make up this industry. And we will continue to invest in people's development. We will continue to create the necessary, facilitate you as the people, create the necessary infrastructure to ensure that we provide, as I said, provide and facilitate the necessary infrastructure for you to produce. That is not all. We have reduced, or we have taken off the VAT on machinery. We have taken off the VAT on agriculture inputs, things like chemical, pesticide, fertilizers. Now farmers don't have to pay 14% VAT on those items. If you go to purchase a tractor, you will pay the price of the tractor, for the tractor, the cost. So that shows where we as a government, we ensuring that we bring in investment rather than to tax the people. We are ensuring that we create the necessary investment and we invest it back in people. So when you look around this country today, what we have done, not only in the rice industry, we have taken out the VAT on electricity. We have taken out the VAT on water. We have taken out the VAT on building supplies. We have taken out the VAT on educational materials, medical supplies. So now people are now paying the price only for those items, rather than they have to pay 14% VAT. And then what we have done is not a big sum, but as a government, we ensure that every single household, we recognize the importance of investing in the people, and we ensure that every single household receives $25,000. That was $7 billion that the government has expended to ensure that every household receives. And eventually, every family will receive the $25,000. We have seen the president announce not so long ago another $2 billion. Another $2 billion for public servants. So all these money, as I said, all these money are investments in the people. I want to recognize my colleague, Dr. Ashley Singh. and he will be speaking the office. All these investments are investment on the people. And we will continue to invest. We will continue to invest on you, the most important asset for us. And we will ensure that we improve on production and productivity. We increase production and productivity.
According to Minister Mustafa, with the setting to right of the rundown agriculture infrastructure, farmers will be able to greatly increase their production and productivity. He disclosed that the GRDB has secured markets for another 200,000 tons of rice for 2021, and with more lands for rice being made available through recent interventions in the MMA ADA, and with the proposed start of work on the second phase of the MMA ADA from Abari to Maikoni, the prospects are looking good for the rice industry. In his presentation at the sod-turning ceremony, Minister with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, said his ministry recognizes the importance of agriculture to the economy of Guyana, and as such will support its initiatives to develop and enhance the sector in every way. Pointing to the excitement surrounding Guyana's new reality as an oil-producing nation, the minister stressed that government will not make the mistakes made by many oil-producing nations who have now fallen on hard times.
We are at an incredibly exciting time in Guyana's history. Every day when you turn on your radio or your television, or you pick up your newspapers, or you open the internet or social media, you see a lot that is being said about this unique, historic moment in our country's economic history. And a lot of that excitement has to do with the fact that Guyana is now the world's newest oil-producing nation. And a lot of that excitement revolves around the anticipation that oil production will bring with it an immediate prosperity to our country. And a lot of that excitement is indeed justifiable, because of course becoming an oil-producing country does indeed provide an opportunity for a country to accumulate rapid amounts of revenue and potentially accumulate the capacity to become wealthy immediately. But if you look around the world, you will see dozens of examples of countries that become oil producers, and notwithstanding the fact that they became oil producers, did not achieve the kind of wealth accumulation across the board that the prospect of oil production might have promised. Indeed, there are more examples around the world of countries that became oil producers but were not able to translate oil production into broad-based prosperity. There are more examples of countries where this did not happen than of countries where this did happen. And there are a variety of reasons why this is the case. If you look across the global landscape, you will see many, many countries where oil is produced and where you have a booming oil sector, but where the rest of the economy is non-existent or uncompetitive or in a state of complete collapse. I don't want to name any countries in particular, but you read the newspapers and you know what happens in the rest of the world. And there are many examples, many examples of oil-producing countries that have a complete and total dependence on oil. When the oil price is doing well, their economy does well. Well, the oil price is doing badly, their economy collapses completely. There are many, many examples of countries where, although the oil prices might be doing well, the prosperity that is generated by oil revenues does not trickle down to a broad-based cross-section, does not trickle down to the entirety of their population. There are many, many examples of countries where once they start producing oil, every other sector collapses because they believe, for one reason or another, that oil and oil alone will assure their prosperity.
Minister Singh emphasized that this is a mistake that will not be made by an Irfaan Ali-led government.
I want to say definitively that President Irfaan Ali's government, the People's Progressive Party government, has always, long before we became an oil-producing country, we have always emphasized the paramount importance of ensuring that we have a widely diversified economy that is not vulnerable and that is not exposed to any one sector. This is a position that we have long embraced in our previous term of office. It is a position that we have embraced in our manifesto, on the basis of which we were elected in 2020. Incidentally, after a long and arduous struggle to defend democracy, and I'm going to come back to that matter in a minute, and on the basis of the commitment that we gave to the people of this country in our manifesto, we will ensure that the Guyanese economy is widely diversified and never finds itself in a situation where it is solely dependent on or solely exposed to oil and gas. Oil will be important, but I would like to say to you definitively here that President Ali's agenda and the mandate that he has given to his ministers is that we must ensure that every other productive sector in the economy realizes a dramatic and rapid transformation so that we see a booming non-oil economy. And I want to say to you definitively that our intention is that Guyana must take its rightful place as an agricultural powerhouse in this region. That is our plan for that. We mustn't only be famous and well known for the fact that we are a large oil and gas producer. We must also be well known for the fact that we are finally realizing our potential that has been spoken of for generations. We're finally realizing our potential to be the breadbasket of the Caribbean and a major supplier of food products throughout the hemisphere and beyond.
Dr. Singh further explained that not only agriculture will be given the support and impetus needed to realize its potential, but all productive sectors that contribute to our economy.
But our agenda is not confined to agriculture only. It's not confined to oil and gas. It's not confined to agriculture, although agriculture will be a mainstay of the economy. We are working hard to ensure that other aspects of the economy, complementary aspects of the economy, are also modernized. So you may have heard, you may read, you would have heard of the work that we are currently doing to bring gas. You would have heard of what is called the Gas to Shore project. Bringing of gas that is generated as a result of the oil and gas activity offshore, construction of a pipeline to bring that gas onshore, to construct gas-fired electricity generation capability that will ultimately see a dramatic reduction in the cost of electricity, which will in turn reduce the cost of power generation in industry and for household consumption as well. So you might read the newspapers and you might hear, what does gas to shore have to do with me? Well, if you think about it, we have for a long time been an exporter of primary agricultural products. We have been an exporter of bulk sugar. We have been an exporter of bulk rice. We have been a producer and an exporter of fruits, harvested fruits, vegetables, and non-traditional agricultural crops. But one of the main impediments that has prevented us from moving towards what we call value-added agro-processing, and by this I mean value-added sugar products, packaged sugar. Minister Mustafa is leading a conversation right now on how we can expand our capability to produce packaged and refined sugars. Right now he's having that conversation. He's leading that conversation with the sugar industry. Value-added rice products, new varieties, packaged rice, processed rice products. Value-added fruit and vegetable products, including canned fruit juices, canned fruit products and vegetable products, canned fruit chunks and fruit extracts. What has been the biggest impediment to value-added agro-processing? The single biggest impediment has been the cost of energy. Because while we produce the raw sugar, while we produce the unprocessed rice, while we produce and harvest the fruits and vegetables, the cost of electricity to process these into packaged and refined products for export markets has so far been prohibitive. And so, while you read about gas to shore, gas to power, and you read about the reduction in cost of energy, you might be tempted to make the mistake of thinking this is not relevant to agriculture. But in fact, it is very relevant to agriculture. Because when the cost of energy comes down, immediately our capacity to process refined products, to package products, to develop value-added, and to promote agro-processing, immediately our capacity to do so and to do so in a competitive way is readily transformed.
Key to the integrated plan for prosperity in Guyana is the opening up of new lands for purpose of agriculture. And according to Dr. Singh, these considerations are being catered for in the 2021 national budget, which is scheduled to be laid in Parliament in February.
Minister Mustafa just spoke about the fact that we will be doing work in the 2021 budget. Just yesterday, we had a meeting and Minister Mustafa led the representation on the part of his ministry, articulating their vision for agriculture. And he spoke passionately about the importance of moving to phase 2 of the MMA project, which ultimately is going to see another 200,000 acres of prime agricultural land open. When that acreage is open, you will see hundreds of farmers being able to access large acreage for primary cultivation. And at the same time, right about the same time, you're going to see electricity costs coming down, industrial development to promote agro-processing. You're going to see Guyana becoming an exporter of processed agricultural products. We want to see a day when our relatives and friends can go to the supermarkets in New York and in Toronto, and they go to the shelves and they see cans and packages of products that say made in Guyana, product of Guyana, food products. That's the vision that we have. And I don't want you to think that this is some abstract concept that has nothing to do with you. When we get to the point that we can export value-added agricultural products, it means bigger markets for farmers, it means higher incomes for farmers, it means greater prosperity for farmers, and by extension, it means improved quality of life for all of our people. And so, I don't want to keep you for too long. You have already heard from Minister Mustafa, who has spoken extensively. I want simply to say to you that the commitment of the People's Progressive Party government to the people of Guyana is that we will realize in this term of office, we will realize demonstrated progress in transformation in all of our sectors, foremost amongst which will be agriculture. That is our commitment.
Referring to the recent COVID cash grant and the one-off cash grant to public servants, Minister Singh said that at face value, the amounts do not seem like a lot, but taken collectively, its impact on the local economy is dramatic, an intervention that will result in the turnover of money in the financial system here.
You recently heard that we announced a number of initiatives like the COVID relief program, like the one-off payout to public sector employees, like the payout to frontline workers. Together, these three initiatives put in the pockets of ordinary householders, put in the hands of ordinary householders across the 10 regions of Guyana, a total of $10 billion of disposable income. Now you might say, again, what does that have to do with me? Well, first of all, as long as you are a household, and I suspect most of you are, your household should have benefited from this COVID relief program. But in addition to that, when that $10 billion gets into the disposable income, people get this money in their hands. What do you think they do? They don't bury it in their backyard. They don't put it under their mattress. They don't put it in a suitcase and lock it away. You know what they do with it? They go to the market. They go to the shop. They go to the hardware store. They go to the store where they can buy some chemicals for their little farm. They go wherever else. They go to the hardware store to invest in some equipment, or even to buy some paint or some nails to fix up their home. When they go to the market and they spend their $50,000 or their $25,000, the market vendor goes to the wholesaler. And the wholesaler in turn goes to the farmer. The farmer in turn goes to the store. The store goes to the manufacturer. And that $10 billion multiplies itself over and over and over again. And so these things are not random initiatives. They're all part of ensuring that our economy is restarted and resumes the dynamism that we had before 2015. Investments such as this are all part of a comprehensive plan to ensure that we increase cultivable land for agricultural purposes, with the ultimate objective, like I said, if you'll forgive my repetition, with the ultimate objective that Guyana will take alongside with us becoming one of the world's preeminent oil and gas producers, that we will take our place, we will take our rightful place as an agricultural powerhouse in the Western Hemisphere. And that is our intention, and that is the effort currently being led by Minister Mustafa. And I will say, I said to him yesterday that his sector can be assured of the support of the Ministry of Finance, because that is the mandate that we've been given by President Irfaan Ali. That is the mandate that he's been given, that is the mandate that I have been given, and that's the mandate that the entire cabinet has been given. That agriculture should take a preeminent place in the productive economy of Guyana.
The formal ceremony was followed by the ceremonial turning of the sod at the starting point for the 5 km asphalted concrete road into the MMA scheme. This project is the first phase of what will be the complete upgrade of the main access road to the MMA backlands, all the way to the Conservancy. Farmers of the MMA scheme who use the access road on a daily basis were upbeat about this latest intervention by government.
This road is a lifeline of the MMA scheme. Without this road, we can't transport our produce. So it's going to be a real asset to the rice farming community.
Yeah, the road will do very good for the farmer then, because right now the road is in a terrible condition. And some farmer may understand get now the machinery start fast and the canal top. The main access road. And if the road go do it will be great to farm. Well, because the previous government never did nothing to the road for the last 5 years when they made it half. And now this new government do back a lot of work to the MMA scheme, clean back enough for the trenching. And also then had to grade back the road and full back one and so get the road to kind of working condition until then go to the asphalt road now.
Well, the road here will benefit for me because we punish a lot. And we use boat for go right now. A tractor can't go. So we're using boat right now for go up there. And the road will benefit for me 100%.
The Guyana Livestock Development Authority, GLDA, is reminding the general public that its range of services can be accessed from all 10 administrative regions of Guyana. These services include regulatory services such as the issuance of permits for the import-export of live animals, meat, veterinary drugs, hatching eggs, etc., and the granting of licenses for the trade in animals and animal products. These regulatory services also include quarantine for live animals, inspection at ports of entry, and livestock product facilities. In addition, GLDA provides services in the area of artificial insemination in cattle, small ruminants, and swine, livestock management, pasture development, beekeeping. The GLDA Veterinary Laboratory offers diagnostic services including testing for internal parasites, screening of blood and other tissues for the presence of diseases such as avian influenza, infectious bronchitis, Newcastle disease in poultry, and brucellosis, rabies, etc. in other animals. To access these services, contact the GLDA veterinarian or extension officers in your region or the head office on 220-6556 or 220-6557. A message from the GLDA Ministry of Agriculture. The Guyana Rice Development Board is reminding all farmers that an integrated pest management program is the best way to ensure a successful, high-yielding crop. Integrated Pest Management, or IPM, is the use of several compatible control strategies to suppress a pest. IPM is for the management of all insect pests and snails or even weeds, whether it's early season, mid-season, or late season. This program begins at land preparation and involves the following key steps. After proper tillage, leave land exposed to sun for a few days to allow for pests in the soil to be exposed to natural predators, as well as to allow for degradation of any debris there. Proper land leveling should also be ensured. Farmers should adopt uniform times of sowing. Sowing en bloc during the April, May, and November, December periods of the year. All farmers should treat their seed before sowing, providing insect pest protection to the young rice plants for up to 30 days. Ensure proper water management for the first 40 days of the crop. Ensure effective monitoring of the crop from the vegetative stage for the presence of paddy bugs or other pests. This will aid the farmer in determining the right time to apply the appropriate insecticide to kill the paddy bugs. A message from the Guyana Rice Development Board, Ministry of Agriculture. This is what a responsible, health-conscious person should be wearing when using agrochemicals on the farm. Wearing the proper protective equipment guards users of pesticides and other harmful chemicals from the cumulative effects of consistent exposure over a period of time. In the short term, exposure can result in skin or eye irritation, rashes, burns, respiratory problems, etc. Long-term results of exposure to harmful chemicals include certain types of cancers, birth defects, etc. Ensure you wear the proper protective equipment when applying pesticides. A message from the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Board, Ministry of Agriculture.
The management of the MMA ADA wishes to remind members of the public that dumping of garbage along the road shoulders of the main access road to the MMA lands is an illegal practice and will not be condoned. The MMA has noted with alarm that the practice of dumping garbage alongside the roads at night has been increasing in frequency. Not only does it make for an eyesore, the garbage has been getting into the drainage and irrigation channels, causing blockage to the free flow of water. The authority is warning that its rangers have been put on notice and will be on the lookout for persons engaging in this practice. Persons caught will be handed over to the police for charges to be filed. A message from the MMA ADA, Ministry of Agriculture.
Well, that's all the time we have in this edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. This Week in Agriculture is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and Advertising, based in East Berbice. Until next time then, be good to yourselves and to each other.